welcome to the session. Now on the second day of the Community Networks Exchange, we had so many interesting discussions on regulatory action, data ownership by communities, some stories from the field, and also like a more practical session earlier this morning on how to build networks. In this panel discussion, we're going to explore some of the challenges that the community networks in India are facing. And those are challenges linked to sustainability and languages, local content, gender, literacy. And we have 3 practitioners here in the room. They have all confronted these challenges and turned them into opportunities for innovation. They will share how community governance and local content and local capacity building can help create impact. So let me introduce our panelists. I'll start with, to my very far left, we have Ritu Srivastava, who is a technology and connectivity policy professional with an interdisciplinary academic background, holding a master's degree in electronics and telecommunications and an MBA in information and technology. Based in India, Ritu's work lies at the intersection of communication technologies, digital inclusion, and community-centric infrastructure models. Currently, she is serving as a program officer at the IEEE Future Networks and supporting them for 2 programs. She has also represented India at the Global Network Initiative, the UN Human Rights Council, and the High-Level Panel for Digital Cooperation. Then we have Professor Sarbani Belur, who is currently affiliated to the Birla Institute of Technology and Science at PITS Bilani, Hyderabad, as a visiting professor in the Department of Humanities and Social Sciences. And her areas of expertise are citizen science, science and technology studies, where her area of focus is technology and its social impact, rural development, and gender studies. She has worked for over 12 years in the area of community networks in India and Asia Pacific. And finally, we have Dinesh, who is a community media activist with a background in computer science. For over 2 decades, he has been part of Janastu and Serve Lots in Bangalore. And their focus now is on storytelling methods and encouraging people from communities marginalized by the illiterates, especially women, to tell their own stories and participate in documentation of their ways of life. He created initiatives like Arrowway, Anthill Hacks, Regeneration Lab, Cow Mesh, and Crafter Space. Lately, he's discovering ways to use AI to lower the barrier of interaction with the low literate women. You didn't introduce yourself. Sorry, thanks, Dinette. I forgot to introduce myself. My name is Senka Hadjic. Actually, Pranita had introduced me at the very beginning. I will start with, my first question goes to Ritu. You have been really involved in combining community radio and community networks to strengthen local communication. Can you give us some information on how these efforts help make connectivity more meaningful for the communities?
Hello. Thank you, Senka, and I think my voice is also loud enough to be without working with the mic as well. Okay. I'll start the journey of a CR Bolo, or the journey of how I started working with radio station and combining with community network is also started at a CNX in 2017 or 18, when we did a first CNX in India or a second CNX in India. We were talking about that why community radio should be seen as an extended network of a community network for 2 reasons, or for multiple reasons. One of the reasons was we identified that public spaces such as community radio stations do have a capability and do have a infrastructure, ready infrastructure, which can be optimally utilized for extending the network in any sort of, especially in the rural regions, and that has to be seen as a public, has to be seen as a another leg of community networks, which we believe in. I believed in that, and then that's the one of the journey which started in 2020 when the COVID hit, and most of our Orissa-based laborers were going back to their own city or the one. We found that especially the farmer or laborers were not able to communicate with their hometowns, and then radio stations was doing a lot of a job, and it was on their hand. um, they were trying hard to have an internet, but not the internet was not working, and that's the reason that when we established the CR Bolo, and in a Bolo is also a speak, because community radio is a more voice-enabled service, provide a voice-enabled services than the uh, web interface or something like that. And considering India, which is a more has a 22 official language and so many dialects and so many things, it's better to be services should be enabled with the voice based as well. So when we were doing it, is establish the radio station in the use their infrastructure such as a tower, local network, and the skilled human resource for extending the network. We established the network within that the tower of a radio bulbul, and then utilized provided the connectivity to 3 schools and 3 SHG centers, established with the online and the with the local as well as with the internet. Primarily, it was used more on our internet, but later on it went into the local network as well, because most of our content was available local network. Most of the feedback which we were receiving from our for a radio station was through the this one. But we also realized that we need to connect. People wanted to, during the time of the COVID, people wanted to talk to radio stations because they wanted to come back to their hometowns. So we enabled IVR service on the top of the local network, with which is combined with the GSM band, with both on the local network as well as on the cloud service, so that anyone who would like to contact, they could be able to access that services, and they can access that local. One of the good part about this putting the network on in the radio station is because we do not need to do a two level of a work. One is a mobilization, because community radio stations work in such communities where connectivity is really, it's not so good, or it is fragile, or it is has some kind of a issues always there. They already they already have a communities who are mobilized, and well enough skilled human resource are also lying there. So you do we do not need to do the high level of a training. Just give a small scale of a training, and then we can realize that human resource can be used, or a people can be, or a local people can be work better with the radio station, because they know the radio station, they work in the radio station, they come, they see the radio station, and radio stations are 24/7, or mostly like at least they are open for 18 hours in a day. So it is an easy accessible public space where people can access it and use the digital services. So that's where which we are establish the CR Bolo. Currently, we are also thinking that it is needs to be a IVR service, but we need to have a more localized version. So we are topping up with the LLM model, just to bring a lot of financial inclusion services, all scheme and information services through the language-based and a voice search-based model. Because one of the challenge what we faced in Orissa is a dialect. Dialect is the Hindi, English, and Oriya dialect was the one which we wanted to have it. All of the content is stored on a local server as well as on a cloud, but people usually use a local server for the connecting it. Why? Because 1 GB data is not enough to access the services online. They would not like to go online and use it. So if they would like to connect with the radio station, school students would like to connect with the radio station, or they would like to give a feedback or anything, they use the local network of a CR Bolo. They do not go back to the internet on the time-to-time basis. And this is why we are keep on doing a search that what could be the beneficial and what could be the thin line when we can include technical and social architecture should be mixed together, and see that how local content and meaningful access can be leveraged from both the side.
Thanks so much, Ritu. So yeah, combining these two solutions like the radio and the network. I think because of the ease of access, it ultimately leads to better inclusion. And you also mentioned like different languages, dialects, and local content. So our next speaker, Dinesh, is kind of yeah, an expert on local content, and I would like to hear what are your like insights and challenges when it comes to local content.
Thank you. So we started this local networks about 10 years ago, approximately. But during COVID, it was very interesting because we couldn't see how the students and others in the villages area. Um, uh, we live in a village which is about hour and a half from Bangalore, and Bangalore is a big city and there's always connection and all that. But when you come to our village, there is nothing. So we have a little forest around us, and people have to cross the forest to come. But it's only about 15 minutes of travel through the forest. So, but we set up a network and it was active, but we were not engaging with the outside world with the network, and we were collecting stories and all that. And during COVID, we had to connect to the outside world because the students started asking they need connection to the outside world. That's how we started connecting to the outside world. But our main interest was in developing applications that can hold the content of the village. And what we catered to was women of the village. So, because the women have a lot of stories and they don't have an outlet, especially if you don't know how to read and write. So, if you don't know how to read and write, what do you do? So, that is when we started looking at how communities can tell their stories and other people can annotate. So, we started developing an application for their needs, which is deployed on the local radio and local network. And so this application, what it does is basically let people tell their stories, and when somebody hears it, they can annotate it. They can say from here to here is interesting, from here to here is. They can also give their own words to it, or translate it, or uh, transcribe it even, and then people who record it or their friends can make a small group around it. And that is very important because most people don't want to put it out in the open by default. They want to get some understanding, they want to mark part of the audio or video and then release it later when they're okay with it. So this process is the most interesting, and that's why we developed this application. And I find it very interesting how many women use it, how they use it, and how they get to know that they can interact. They can, also share it with their friends in the locality. So these things we find is very interesting. And what else did you ask? Yeah. So our main challenge is, of course, the policies, the government policies, and all those things, and how there is no framework for the people that we work with. So we had to bring an internet from outside, and then it has a lot of restrictions. We still don't know whether it's legal. So, so, so that's the issue, right? So they don't push us and ask too many questions because there is no alternative. That's how I feel. If there is an alternative, then we would be questioned. We would be like, why don't you use this? Why don't you use that? But there is no alternative in our area. So but that has given us an opening into how we can interact with especially the women in the area. But the most important thing is, what do the women who don't read and write need? They need to have local groups, and we are concentrating on the local groups and how they can interact. And we have a craft center, so where people can come to the craft center, mostly women, and they interact with each other. And we have a radio station, which is the community radio station. They can talk and they can publish, and we mix all these things together, right? So that enough for now.
Thanks, Dinesh. Yeah, also great that you are looking at ways how to include like this specific group of population, illiterate women. Yeah, Sarbani is doing something similar, basically working on women's entrepreneurship in rural areas, and community networks can enable that.
Hello, everyone. It's a pleasure to be talking here. The community network that has been set up in Pathardi, that's a rural Maharashtra, not very far away from Mumbai. That is just now Dinesh mentioned that it is 1.5 hours away from Bangalore, the place where Dinesh's network is, and this is around 3.5 hours away from Mumbai. And there is no connectivity. The reason why there is no connectivity in this village is because it's covered by hills on 3 sides. So network operators for a long time have never been to this location because they think that it is a wastage of their efforts to go into the village and not be able to connect the shadow region of the hill. Yeah, so because there is a hill that acts as a boundary sort of, and so the network operator was never going. And you will not believe, Reliance Jio, their cable ends at the mouth of the village. Yeah, so this is something was very sad for us. I used to work during that time as a senior research scientist at IIT Bombay in the Grammarg lab. My principal investigator was Professor Abhay Karandikar. He is currently the DST secretary. And then we got the funding from APC, Association for Progressive Communications, wherein we set up this network in Pathardi, and we called it the Aple Pathardi network, yeah, community network. The reason why this network was set up was that connectivity was not there, and it would never come over there because of the dynamics of the telecom operators. But in spite of it, the people in the village wanted connectivity in some form or the other. Yeah, the reason was that the city or the nearest town, the town in town is called Jawahar. Jawahar town is around 10 to 15 kilometers away from the village, and for even looking into their bank account, they had to travel all the way to Jawahar town. And it was becoming very difficult for them because these are all agricultural laborers, so they spent a lot of money going there, and their daily wage for that day would also not be there. Yeah, they would miss out on that. So they thought that why not set up a connectivity in the village, so to enable these services for them. And it was then that we thought that, okay, we will try to do it because we are not telecom operators, we don't have the permission to do that. Let us do it with a SIM card based cellular router put up in the tower that is existing in Pathardi. It was during Sam Pitroda's time, this tower was set up for voice connectivity, and it is now a defunct tower. Yeah. So we set it up over there, a SIM card based cellular router, dual SIM card cellular router, and we enabled this lady in the village as an e-dost. E-dost is an initiative that has actually caught up in all across India now, and it is by BIF Development Research Foundation that during the project with APC, we trained 5 e-dosts, and now it is more than 152 e-dosts all across India, working in rural areas, enabling services, the e-governance services like death certificate, birth certificate, Manrega things, looking into the bank account, bank transfers, money deposits, all those things has been enabled by this e-dost. Now, so she uses her mobile phone the Bluetooth in a mobile phone, and she accesses the signal from the SIM card, and she enables the services with a small biometric device that she has. So it's a very cost-effective, frugal solution, 3,000 rupees, not more than that, and she does a recharge, a yearly recharge of 1,200 rupees to 1,500 during that time, and she enables. Now, as time passed by, what happened is that more and more women in the village wanted to be a part of this network. And it was very difficult for us to understand or to give them a suggestion that how can they be a part of this network. So that is when we set up this offline network within the community for women to sort of set up a cultural repository of their own. And that is where they set up their biodiversity. They have a lot of knowledge about biodiversity. So which tree, which leaves to eat from which tree, which fruit to eat, which flowers to eat. Yeah. So this is a tribal village over there, the Warli tribes, and they have such rich repository of their own local knowledge. They started collecting that local knowledge in that offline network, hyperlocal network over there. And this one was just by audio messages, audio things, videos, just nothing else, because they are not having high levels of literacy. And this became a network, and I'm very proud to say that this network is a self-sustaining network. I don't even go there now. It is just running on its own. It is just running on its own. Women have developed this cultural repository, and we connected this repository to an e-commerce platform by BIF Development Research Foundation. So all their products whatsoever, like during the rainy season, they have the tribal food festival. So all the women come together, they collect all the vegetables during the rainy season, and then they have this tribal food festival being organized in Mumbai. If you all are there in Mumbai during the rainy season, please look up. There is a tribal food festival, and that is from one of our networks in Pathardi. Yeah, I'm very happy to say that EDOS initiative has taken off in a very nice way, empowering many women in rural villages of not only Maharashtra, but all across India. Yeah, so that is the initiative that I have worked on. Thank you.
Thanks, Sarbani. So I think like from all these three talks, we can see that there are different types of connectivity. It can be voice only using radio. It can be intranet, so basically offline networks where we don't even like connect to the outside world. And even these repositories for local knowledge can also take different forms. Sometimes it's also just voice-based, for example. Are there any questions at this stage?
Yes.
Thanks. Sorry, I come from Africa, and we do tend to talk too much, and I probably personally I think, I'm speaking here in my capacity as APC, but also as somebody who used to run an internet service provider in the 1990s that then had to face, the impact of commercially available internet. And we were an ISP very much like what community networks are in terms of providing capacity building, content, movement building, but we couldn't sustain once commercial internet was available. Now, what happens with these hyperlocal initiatives when there are other forms of connectivity available in those places? How do you ensure that the social value and benefit and the community building impact that you have is sustained even when the basis for connectivity changes? And I'm sure that's something you think about. And of course, there will also always be places that are not sustainably or affordably connected. So just maybe how do you connect that? I see that very much in the South African Community Network Association, which is now having to deal also with medium and small ISPs that are providing fiber in poor communities, but they're just providing the fiber, they provide nothing else. When those communities are marginalized, they're deprived, they don't understand how to use digital public services, who provides that connection? How do you adapt, but also how do you then partner? I mean, we heard the Air Jaldi presentation earlier, a very different model, very sustainable and solid in terms of infrastructure provision and I'm sure affordability as well. So, yes, how do you connect the hyperlocal with ultimately the need for more stable and sustainable and affordable non-local or interconnected connectivity?
So I should tell you that the need for so when the e-dost begins her journey in the village, she is one of the women from the village itself. So she begins her journey with trust from the villagers. So she is the person who is trusted by the villagers. And that is where the journey begins. Yeah? And that is where the people connect with her. And in spite of, so you are saying that once this alternative methods of connectivity comes in, but still there are no banks over there. In the village. They still have to travel 15 kilometers away. There is no there is no a hospital over there. Yeah, so they still have to go to the nearest town or the city. So the e-dost becomes a sort of a pillar of trust for them, and who enables the money, because money is something that they are they hold it very dear to them, because that's a very less amount of money for them, but it is a lot for them. Yeah, so that is something. The cultural and this network, the hyperlocal network, is not just a network, it is a network of people. So that network, they maintain it in spite of any other connectivity initiatives that come in the sense like the telecom operators who come in. So I have seen that in spite of this coverage, they get now coverage from Reliance Jio, because Reliance Jio has penetrated into by not providing fiber, laying the fiber on the underground, but on pillars and poles. So now it has come in. But in spite of this cultural network, the network of people is still growing, and they don't give away from that. So I think this is the beauty of community connectivity initiatives, yeah, that we become two parallel streams, but yet we live together, yeah.
I'll say in this way, like when we are doing a community radio with, because we understood that community radio is the one who has a cultural knowledge, community knowledge, and people do trust them. We understood that, okay, we are coming from outside, and even if we build something, it will not be sustainable for so long. We also understood that community radio station has a skilled human resource, which are locally enabled, which are understand that how do they operate radio, how do they operate local server, how do they can extend it. So there was a little requirement for us to give them a training, but the trust was the one factor that it was already there. We do not need to put anything and other factor. One of the interesting fact that I gathered from those network, Bhadrak is the location where communal violence and the communal violence is a large from the last couple of years. Like from the last 3 years, there are 4 internet shutdown happened. I live in Lucknow, and when I got to know that internet shutdown happened, that was the time that that network was utilized the most. And that was the time that it was utilized most, because local network and the local communication was always enabled, and it was there actually, despite the fact internet was not available. And even I do not have a record on that, because I live in Lucknow, I could only call once the internet was enabled and the telecom service was enabled. So when I got to know, and I called my local radio bulbul person, Niyaz, that why didn't you call me? Okay? There was no internet, there was internet shutdown. So I said, there's no telecom service operation. But yes, people were able to access the network, people were able to access reach the radio station and enable that. That makes a different from other things as well, thing as well. Keeping a content locally, keeping a decentralized infrastructure also enables the centralized infrastructure to bring the outside world in the inside, and also create a two-way system, that we are intact with our local culture, we are intact with the local content, we do understand the local dialects. We would love, people would not like to talk in English, people would love to talk in their local language, because that gives them a one-to-one relationship. As long as if I go outside and I see anyone who speaks Hindi outside my India, I feel so happy about it. And that's the thing which we feel when we are back in our towns as well, or back in our rural villages, that everyone would like to speak in their local language. And those networks make it rich, culturally rich as well, along with the traditional ISP providers, which may not able to do or provide such thing as well.
So to add to what both of them said, where we work, the women are low literate and they have no internet, they have no phones, they have no. So this is the scenario that is mostly all around India, is what I say from my experience. And if you just turn around, there's so many of them. But if you just connect to the internet, then you won't find many of them, right? So what we are trying to do is to get to see how they can participate, and that's been a challenge. We have a craft center mostly for this, and the women come to make crafts, and that is other aspect of like how most of these areas don't have much to do for the women other than agriculture, and so we started the craft center. Women come there, and then we make them tell a story. We make them engage 1 hour at least every day. And this has been an interesting thing, but I won't take more time because we're running out of time here.
Yeah, we have around 15 minutes left. Ritu, you wanted to show a short film about your project. Do you want to?
Over 2.7 billion people in the world, mostly in the developing countries, still don't have internet access. This means that over half of the world's population is missing out on the life-changing benefits of connectivity, from financial services to health and education. India is a diverse country, having different cultures, geographies, languages. In the rural expanses, where over 70% population resides, a lack of reliable internet connection stands as a barrier to progress. In the vast tapestry of India, where digital landscapes are woven unevenly, emerges a story of innovation, connectivity, and empowerment. Despite being home to the highest number of Facebook users globally, the digital divide in India is stark. In rural India, where 70% of the population resides, the reach of the internet is alarmingly low. The pandemic has widened this gap, deepening societal and economic inequalities.
Now, we started Jadeite Solutions in 2017 along with my co-founder Ritu Srivastav. One of the things that emerged during COVID-19, my colleague Ritu Srivastav did a research study with CR stations, and a very interesting thing emerged was the role they played in connecting with the people who were impacted with this pandemic. So the radio stations actually play a very critical role when it comes to connecting to the masses and, let's say, impacting people at the ground level. However, what we also realized was that the CR stations don't have a reliable or cost-effective internet, so that limits their ability to upload content. Also, the model that they follow is not very financially sustainable. CR model is a very unique concept in the sense it is a network owned, managed and operated by the community. We ran the pilot project at Radio Bulbul with the support from the Internet Society and IEEE.
Community radios in India have been providing the last mile access to information services in rural regions. Despite having a stronghold with community members, these stations face the following challenges. 1. Unreliable internet connectivity. 2. Lack of economic sustainability. In response to these challenges, Jadeite Solutions Private Limited, a social enterprise, is working in areas of community radio stations, initiated CR Bolo project, the first community network at Radio Bulbul, aiming to provide an alternative last-mile connectivity solution, leveraging existing infrastructure available at the radio station.
We are running community radio station in Bhadrak in Odisha, and actually the community radio across India is 400 plus. So what we thought that the radio is the medium where we can reach the larger part of our country to give the information about all, means holistic, either it may be education, it may be the schemes, agriculture. So during the COVID time, me and one of the organization which is running also radio in Konark, Young India, we have decided if it can be possible without internet, how we can get the content from the community during the COVID, because as during the COVID, we are just lacking the problem. We can't upload the content, we can't come to the studio physically.
Radio Bulbul 91.2.
CR Bolo, an initiative that transcends the boundaries of traditional communication, transforming rural landscapes into hubs of digital inclusivity.
दिल से दिल तक रे मुसना आपण मानको स्वागत जणाउछि.
Utilizing the height of the CR tower, a wireless mesh network was established within a 5 to 7 kilometer radius of Radio Bulbul, located at Bhadrak town of Odisha.
Sorry, because we are running slightly out of time, we decided to just stop the video here. I actually wanted to hear from Dinesh about you've been using AI interface to support low literacy women to access the local content. Can you tell us more? How does AI help reduce the barrier? And how do you see it like as a potential going forward in the community network space?
Yeah, we just started using AI, meaning that we started engaging with the women to see how AI can help them. And the first thing that we tried was to see how they can react to something using AI. And what does that mean? We show them videos, we make them talk to each other and see how they react. And they have to respond by audio. That's the main thing, right? They can't read and write. So this is where AI is very interesting for us, in the sense that even if there is a written something, it has to be read out for them. And there's a lot of language barriers, like our local language is not completely supported. And so we are trying to see how that can be enhanced by providing additional words and additional language inputs and all that. That's the first thing. The second most important thing is how the community can use AI with each other so that there is an enhanced understanding of what AI can do. And this is something that we are just starting now, and we will see how it goes forward.
So did I understand correctly? Are you training the AI in local language?
Yeah, just a little bit of training so that the AI becomes more and more available for the local women. That's. Yeah,
I'm very curious to see like the long-term impact of that. And would you say that would also like contribute to the long-term sustainability of the initiative, or what do you see as a potential benefit?
Yeah, so it has to, because most women don't know how to read and write. And as long as they can communicate, they can record themselves, they can have that as a basis, like how how you have notes here. What is the equivalent for them? it's that kind of a thing that we are looking at, how what makes them comfortable and how AI can help with. We still don't know all the where all we'll go with it, but that's the direction that we want to take. Yeah.
Thank you. And yeah, so when it comes to sustainability, I think over the last 2 days we heard a lot of comments that women-led networks lead to more long-term sustainability. And Sarbani, like your work on women entrepreneurship, would you say that empowering women has also been leading to you said the network at the moment is like self-reliant, you don't even have to intervene. Do you think it has to do with the fact that it's women-led?
Yes, I should say that it is contributing through women leading the network, because the ethos, of course, that is an initiative that actually brings in empowerment for women. But the cultural repository is also another way by which women are empowered, because that is how the knowledge, the local knowledge that women have, that is being collected in that repository. The other thing that I would also like to mention is that the women themselves have now become into a cooperative. The ethos themselves have become into a cooperative, and they provide loans to each other. So that by which these women are the ones who also have diversified from just e-governance services, enabling e-governance services, to mobile recharge, to printing services, to lamination services, providing mini ATM machines by which people in the village can also draw out money, even though it is not with the bank account. So something of these type has actually empowered the all-round development of women. It is not just, and it is because it has been a women-led network. Yeah.
Of that hyperlocal community, people are using for financial needs, for government documents, making the government documents, etc. I just would like to understand how the community is coming together to access the medical facilities. And people don't have access to the health services. So I just want to understand how the community is coming together to help other people when there is a medical emergency.
And we are not telecom operators to provide the bandwidth. So in that process, it is only just consultation with a doctor. Like you have the Apollo consultation, that you can consult only, that is enabled through the e-dost only, that she sometimes makes a phone call to the doctor, or the doctor wants to see a video can be shown, so that is there. But we have not connected to the rural hospital or anything of that sort, because that is a telemedicine thing, so that is not done. Yeah.
Can I add something? So there are various medical issues, and most of them are physical. That's what we try to kind of concentrate on. But there are mental issues. This is very important. Over the years, when women got comfortable, we have one or two women who come, and we realize they've been, sitting at home very troubled, and influenced by the neighbors and all that, then they're getting out now. So we find it very comfortable that they're coming out and they're facing their own issues. And I think these are some of the local provisions that we shouldn't forget.
That we all three have a sustainable models which drive from a committee. It is, for example, in my community radio, a community radio is owning that ownership. We are not, at least I am not controlling it from Lucknow or any location. They have a power, they have a people, as well as they have a small team they have made it to control the network, because they have such thing. And whether at least I can say that in my network, social sustainability is already there. Economic sustainability has to come, and this is why we are engaging and testing and trying the new other initiatives like e-tailoring service, call on a tailor service that we are integrating it, because some of those initiatives are very easy to accommodate with SHG members, or some of a new initiative, or some of a like a bringing new technology like a large language model or small language model to integrate such thing as well. But having said that point, most of our services are locally driven. Most of our services are driven which is provided by the local and for the local actually. So radio station is owning this network, they are sustaining the network, and they are generating the revenue, which is again go back to that particular circle itself. So revenue is not coming to us at all, or even they are, right now it's a ROI has met for us, but yes, the social sustainability already is there.
It's a good question because as we innovate, like we are introducing AI, how? How do we sustain it? How do we address it? It all requires funding. And some of this we also don't know. AI is so new, but we want to experiment with it. So we are also experimenting. We are also investing. It's not so simple as like, oh, it runs. But if it runs, it kind of dilutes itself. So we have to kind of create this circles around it so that there is going forward.
I will like to say one thing, that in India we have this Gram Panchayat development plan, which is called the GPDP. Yeah, we often don't understand. If you look into the plan, the government of India has already enabled that we can include internet for development in the Gram Panchayat development plan. But this has not been done for over the years. It has not been done because the villagers themselves don't have the sensitization about it. Yeah, so they are just doing it over and over again. That the agricultural field has to be fenced, the street lights have to be changed, the school building has to be painted, and this is what happens over in the five years plan. So I have actually written a paper on it on the GPDP, wherein we can incorporate internet for development in the Gram Panchayat development plan, and this can be something that can be initiated at the Gram Sabha level. That only the first year the capex is going to be a lot because you have to set up the device, set up the tower and all that. But then after that, the operational costs are going to be minimal, So for the 5 years, the money that comes from the state government as part of the Gram Panchayat development plan, it can be something that can initiate sustainable connectivity at the last mile. Yeah, thank you.
Thanks, everyone. I guess now we really have to close. Thank you.